As temperatures start trickling down, your energy bill could be going up if you're a Duke Energy customer. The electric company is proposing a 15% rate increase for customers in the next 2 years. But Attorney General Jeff Jackson says he's not sure the price jump is necessary. WECT's J.C. Caldwell looking into this today. J.C., how much could this increase cost people?
Well, Fran, we know a few weeks ago, Duke Energy released their proposal that would have rates up $20 to $30 more per month for customers by 2028. After hearing that, Jackson is stepping in to review the jump for ratepayers to see if there's another option. A spokesperson for Duke Energy says the extra revenue from the increase would go toward building a stronger power grid, giving it more protection from storms and outages, which we see a lot of here in southeastern North Carolina. In the end, they say it's all about maximizing efficiency, which they claim will actually save you money in the long run. Jackson, though, is concerned it'll unnecessarily hurt North Carolinians. In a statement, he said, quote, "With costs rising everywhere, it's important we take a close look at Duke Energy's proposed rate increase to ensure it is necessary. My office is intervening to make sure we find the right balance between investing in our energy infrastructure and protecting North Carolinians' wallets," end quote. Well, the case is expected to be heard by the North Carolina Utilities Commission, who are also in charge of approving that rate increase proposal in the first place. We'll keep you updated. J.C. Caldwell, WECT News.